coming from different countries to our conference, ISEFE International Conference of Islamic Economy, Finance and Ethics. This is Ayfer Gedikli from ISEFE Organizing Committee. Thank you very much for coming and thank you very much for following us. This is a very different conference for us because we have started this conference series in 2016. And since then, we try to improve the quality of our conference as possible as we could. And actually, as my colleagues and my brother expressed, this conference is first the idea of my uncle, dear Hacı Gedikli, and then he suggested us to initiate this conference and then to express that Islamic economy and Islamic finance are not an utopia, but the reality of the real life, and whole world, and especially the Muslim countries, should get rid of this poverty and then this trap of the riba or faiz or interest. So with this motto, we initiated our conference, and in 4 years we had almost 8 different conferences. Until today, we all had the conferences face to face, and we had our greatest supporter, of course. Professor Obay was one of our greatest organizers of this conference, and he was always with us. And in every conference, we invited different keynote speakers, all from all over the world, and they all discussed how Islamic economy and Islamic finance can be improved, and how Islamic economy and Islamic finance could be more qualified or they have more penetration in the traditional economic models. And we discussed so many different things, but this one is a little bit different. And maybe in hundreds of years, this is the first strange situation, because we are living a great pandemic, and it's almost a year, and unfortunately things are not getting better, but instead things are getting worse and worse. Many Muslims, many Christians, and different religion, I mean, it doesn't care, and then people are dying, and this is a great disaster, and inshallah we will get rid of it, but so far until now there is no hope yet, and maybe the vaccination may be a little bit helpful, but we are not sure about it. So just because of this, we couldn't organize our conference face to face, and we had to change the conference to online. Thanks to technology, at least we could come together via computer screens and telephone calls and other cases. So this is a little bit good for us to come together. Now, we were planning to discuss what are the Islamic financial instruments, or what are the other alternatives of Islamic economy, Islamic finance, to get rid of pandemic crisis and to get rid of this global recession under the pandemic period. As we know, ISEFE expressed that this recession is worse than 1929. Great Depression, it's worse than it. So all the world is suffering from great slowdown, and all the countries try to find out different alternatives, but unfortunately so far they could not find. In some of the countries there is a great improving unemployment. In some countries there is a great improving and increasing poverty. In some countries there are great inflations and different problems, different economic illnesses, and sometimes 2 or 3 different problems of economy are just increasing in every country. So we thought that there must be some alternative solutions to this great depression through or via Islamic financial instruments. Everybody is trying to find out different ways, but by using all the traditional methods, unfortunately, we couldn't find any solution yet. None of the countries could find a magical solution to get rid of this deep recession while we are having a pandemic. On one side, people are suffering, people are dying, and then all the countries try to overcome this huge health problem, and on the other hand, they try to finance these health issues. And so two sides, there's a great trade-off between them, and to get rid of these health problems, countries need to initiate quarantine or lockdowns, and if they lock down, there are great economic problems. So in this case, we talked with Professor Obay, Professor Seyfettin Erdoğan, and said that, okay, there must be some alternatives to get this great recession through Islamic financial instruments. And then, inshallah, after me, Professor Obay is going to discuss in half an hour what kind of instruments and what kind of methods can we apply to get rid of this crazy process. Yeah, this conference is also very different for me, as my great friend Professor Erdogan and my brother expressed. Unfortunately, I lost my father. My father passed away on Thursday in a very unexpected situation, and we had a great shock. And still, I am in the shock, and I try to understand the process. My colleague, Professor Erdogan, said that let's postpone the conference and maybe we can do it maybe in 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. I said no, because as I said, as my brother said, this was a promise from us to our uncle and our father. I'm sure that they both would never accept to stop working for the Islam. So we are the warriors of Islam, and we have to do whatever we can do to improve our life standards, and then we improve our personalities, and then we need to be good Muslims, and we need to be good examples to other people. So instead of crying, instead of closing you down, and instead of you doing nothing, I guess this is far better to pray for them. And they started so many things, and then they were good examples to us, my uncle and my father, and we tried to get them as our examples, and they are our heroes for all my cousins and my family. And I'm sure that they are the heroes of all the people they know, because they are very good Muslims, and alhamdulillah, they are the friends of Allah. And I'm very happy to be a member of this family. I'm very happy to be brothers or sisters of this family. And alhamdulillah, I'm from this family. And inshallah, we are going to carry their flags. And then we are going to be the warriors of Islam. We're going to be warriors of to be good Muslim. And we're going to fight with poverty. We are going to fight with all the enemies, and then the bad things, and inshallah there will be a great peace in the world. And then we are going to do whatever we could. It may be a little drop, or it may be a huge sea, whatever, doesn't matter. And then we are going to do whatever comes from our hands. So thank you very much for your patience. And then afterwards, we're going to start with the presentation of Professor Obay. I'm sorry, we had to postpone a little bit. And hopefully you will enjoy your program. You will have so very qualified papers, presentations, and I hope you will get good benefit from the conference. Thank you very much.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum and very warm greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the organizers for this opportunity. It is indeed an honor to be sharing this session and to be present with you virtually today. Before moving any further and before making any introductions, I would just like to take a moment to pray for those in whose memory this conference is being dedicated, Hajis Gadigli. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surround them with His ultimate mercy, forgive them, and elevate them to the rank of those who are guided. Ameen. As economies emerge from the pandemic and humanity rethinks the world after COVID-19, we are really presented with a golden opportunity to turn to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and consider the value propositions of Islamic finance in charting a sustainable recovery. I am really fortunate to be joined by distinguished intellectuals who will be sharing their research and thoughts over the next hour or so, inshallah. It is indeed our hope that policymakers and finance professionals will find actionable and timely insights that can help us all build back better after the crisis. And inshallah, our dear students and academics will find some food for thought. As I'm afraid that I won't do you justice, I would like to please invite the panelists to introduce themselves. Perhaps to consider an alternative to the dominant policymaking model, I would like to invite Dr. Putri. Of course, it is widely argued in Islamic finance circles and elsewhere that the dominant socioeconomic and financial order is a continuous source for financial and economic instability. The debt-based policy responses taken by governments in the aftermath, or I mean, not really aftermath as the crisis is still unfolding, but really the debt-based policy responses taken by governments to alleviate the impact of the pandemic are no exception. And Prof. Abedullah has shared very relevant and timely charts and statistics that shows us how the indebtedness of governments at global and regional levels have been just, reaching alarming levels. And this is really against also the backdrop of declining GDP. So, which means that the possibility and the likelihood of having and experiencing increasing insolvencies and bankruptcies, even at the sovereign level, is increasing. And now, while Islamic finance advocates risk sharing, we know that there are some who are skeptical of the practicality and effectiveness of risk sharing policies, including perhaps what Prof. Abedullah has recommended. So for that, and to alleviate any concerns and skepticism, I would like to invite our sister, Dr. Putri, to please shed some light on the application of risk-sharing instruments to recovery. Dr. Putri?
Thank you, Dr. Ala, for kind introductions. And thank you for Dr. Amin Mohseni for very enlightful presentations. First of all, I believe that we as Islamic financial enthusiasts must come to an agreement that there is a problem in today's monetary policy. If we don't meet into the center and having consensus that all agree that acknowledge that there is a problem of monetary policy in today practices, then Islamic finance can be a lot of mazhab, can vary in the approach of and the practicality of Islamic finance. So it is very important to understand that we have to be in line. We have to be in agreement that there is a problem in today's monetary policy. And what is the problem? First of all, this pandemic crisis is not the cause of this recession. We all know that. We understand that 2018, 2019, the decline is there. We can watch it. The graph tells about it. But what interesting is that there is no problem, and there has never been a problem of money supply. Money supply keep increasing like a balloon. It doubles, it triples, it quadruples. It is increasing in alarming rate. So, but it ripples to the real sectors. We still hear people say that there is not enough liquidity, there is not enough money in the market. People cannot afford to buy meals, etc., etc. So, that is the problem in today's monetary policy, that we tend to think that monetary policy is more effective when household savings are parked in the banking system. But we don't continue that after parking in the banking system, what next? It should be onto the real sectors. That is the partial part. We tend to picture Islamic finance or monetary policy in Islamic finance in the partial way. We still tend to forget about the real sectors. That banking system is only intermediary part. So when you talk about inclusion, it should be, of course, having an account in banking system and park all your money to the banking system, to the banking system. But don't stop there. You have to continue by saying that it should, and the intermediary part should play role and function and should function effectively as well in channeling, in distributing the fund to the real sectors, so that the money makes an effect or multiplier effects. Money creates money, in the sense that creates jobs, creates prosperity, etc. So based on this and on my study, I studied because this crisis is not the first crisis we ever had. I mean, we in 1930 we have the Great Depression as well. What happened there? What happened then? The pattern is there. The liquidity is stuck in the banking sector. Plenty of money is being printed. Not only printed, is there basically, but no one can have an access to the banking, not to the banking, but to the liquidity itself. So theoretically, we often assume that consumer, producers, and investors are all different entities. Consumer is those who uses up money to purchase goods and services. Producers are those who focus on supplying goods and services for consumers, as well as providing works and jobs for earners. And investor focus is solely on managing portfolio in order to protect wealth or expand wealth. But that is theoretically, but in reality, in general terms, investors and producers are wearing the same hat. They are the same person who influences consumption. For example, like today in pandemic crisis, everybody wants to travel. The demands for traveling, the demands for going out somewhere else than home, than being stuck and locked at home, I believe the demand is there. The demand for consumption is there, but everyone hold the consumption activities. Why? Because they see a risk. They perceive a risk, so they hold it. So expanding this, so producers basically, when they saw the pandemic crisis, they actually not afraid of having less consumption, but afraid of production's activities itself. When they see that production becomes risky, they halt, they cancel, they stop down their investment. So in that sense, on the reasons of, for example, high or expensive overhead costs, less demand in the market, blah, 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 the producers laid off, the producers stop or quit their employee, and etc. So unemployment, the number of employment or the rate of employment rise. So no money at all, and for the consumers, for the real people who has this marginal propensity to consume at all. These people, these employees have the highest marginal propensity to consume, and we stop them from having the job that they need. They basically, we have one of these surveys that saying they are willing to receive less income, less salary in order to keep the job. But producers stop the productions, halt the plant, investment stop. So all the money that is supposed to oil transactions shifted to the financial assets under banks and transform into fixed income securities. That is the reason why we hear throughout the crisis, this pandemic crisis, the numbers of oversubscriptions for bonds, for sukuk, and etc. So this actually a burden for us. So based on our study, how to unblock this liquidity is basically by introducing so-called the complementary currency as well as discounting policy. What is it? Complementary currencies is a currency that is backed by transactions. We heard that Islamic finance categorize the assets based on whether it is asset-based or asset-backed. So this money, this currency is supposed to be backed by the transactions. So in Germany, what happened in Germany in 1933s where the Great Depression was hitting the economy, the German national, so-called Reichsbank, the monetary policy, allowed the Ministry of Finance to issue a tax, first a tax remission certificate. Tax remission certificate. What is tax remission certificate? It's basically a voucher, a rebate voucher of your tax obligation. So they spread it. They spread it to whom? To producers, to investors, to producers, to investors, to continue their work, to continue to improve their land, their plant, their factories. So tax remission, by tax remission certificates, by distributing tax remission certificates or these tax vouchers, um, producers are less worried about the upcoming obligation to the government. There is no money involved in producing the tax vouchers at the present, but it discounted the tomorrow's or 1 year ahead incomes of the government. So, and also it improved the income of the governments because the more tax vouchers revolve or evolve or circulates in the markets, the more basically income for the government calculated as in income tax. And the second instrument that really stood up is the work creation bills. What happened with Germany is that they are having a awful unemployment. One out of not six, one out of three Germans are basically unemployed, meaning that quarter, more than a quarter of the German population were unemployed. But employment jobs doesn't necessarily commensurate with salary. It's about prestige. It's about dignity and honor. So what people do, what the government did, basically they had this. They compiled all the programs. All at that time was to improve their infrastructures because that was the most important thing. They are lagging behind in terms of infrastructures. So they listed all the infrastructures project and they open it for people, for vendors to come in and be paid with work creation bills. So work creation bills work with the banking system, which then ruled by discounting policy by the monetary authority, that is the Reichsbank, the central bank of Germany, of the Reich, of the German government. So this, to sum up, I believe that my time is short. To sum up, that these three are the most important thing that must be spotted, that must be looked upon by the Islamic financial enthusiasts like us today. That we are not satisfied with our monetary policy now, with our discussions on the effectiveness of monetary policy while still wearing the same hat like the conventional monetary policy. We should think of other open up the alibi system in really in thoughtful way. We are intellectuals, so we have to be put more thoughts on the monetary policy. So in that sense, those vouchers, tax vouchers, and the work creation bills are become the first class asset, because they circulated in very in a speedy manner. They enabled transactions to happen. And how about the mark, the Deutsche Mark, the German currency at that time? There were low inflation. because people when we expect of when what we expect in today monetary policy, you always say don't print money because it will lead to hyperinflation and so forth and etc. It is true, don't print money, but print but let make or create something that is back on transactions and be circulated, and having the hoarders of the money, those investors, those producers who put the money on or at the bank without on financial assets, fixed income assets, uh, put penalty on them. I mean, it is extreme way to say put penalty on them, but I'm not saying penalty or demurrage, but at least discounting policy. People will think that today's $60 is more precious than tomorrow's $100, right? So those ideas of having consume it today, it is better for you than you hoard it or you save it for tomorrow, because who knows, tomorrow will never come. So that kind of a thought that should be on the same, we should be in the same frequency. So by that, there is a history, of course, behind that. Irving Fisher's money stamp script, Keynes, Keynes, in his book in 1936, he wrote that he proposed that we have to give euthanasia of to the rentiers, etc., etc. Well, basically, that's the discounting policy that we are looking at. We are having now a negative interest rate, but it is not a discounting policy. It is, it is the low. It is still, the interest rate is still there. It's still high in the real market. In the real market, in the loan sharks, it's still high. It's still killing people. Our deposit and savings rate are really, really huge. Really, really, increasing like no one have never seen it before. I have the statistics, but I couldn't show it to you. But yet, people are still saying there is no money. So that is the miscoordination problem of us. And that what Islamic finance could study and be practical, be solution, and please think thoroughly when we say that monetary policy is effective when we put our money in the bank. That's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Dr. Ala. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Putri. That was really an insightful, enlightening, and a thought-provoking presentation. May Allah bless you. Definitely,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think anyone can agree more that, thank you, I mean, that coordination is really at essence when it comes, especially to such times that we are facing and experiencing, really, and where there are different stakeholders and parties involved. There is really this dire need for coordinated effort. And inshallah, I mean, we would hopefully, I mean, that Germany was one example where risk sharing was implemented and there was tangible results. I believe that was really witnessed. And inshallah, we hope that there will be someone who would be brave enough to, inshallah, take up the recommendations put forth by Prophet Abdullah and perhaps even get some, insights and inspiration from the policy measures you had mentioned, and inshallah implement true risk sharing. And of course, with the advances of technology, I tend to Brother Haziq to maybe give us some 1 minute concluding remarks on the theme and the focus of this panel discussion, which is really the role of Islamic finance for sustainable recovery, inshallah, post-COVID-19. And so whoever would like to go first, please, you can just unmute and then go ahead. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe we just go in the same order, I guess, right?
Okay, please. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, dear participants, thank you very much. They're all very good presentations. Thank you for you all.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ifer. So I guess with that, perhaps we don't have time for the concluding remarks.
Okay.
Do we have time?
Voice coming back, so we just got the voice. Could you please just have the concluding remarks? We are sorry because we couldn't get the voice, so we just understood that you are going to have some concluding remarks. Thank you. Just please follow. Go ahead.
Okay. So, I think what I want to focus on is this: that with every single crisis, inequality increases. The data is out there. We have published a paper on that. And one way of reducing, or at least putting a brake on the increase of inequality, is inclusive growth. And one of the pieces of the puzzle of inclusive growth and development is financial inclusion. And in Muslim majority countries, Islamic finance can increase financial inclusion. There's evidence for that we just presented. And therefore, in order to address future crises in a much more effective and efficient manner, we need to pay serious attention to increasing access, to increase the presence and also access to Islamic financial services in Muslim majority countries as a piece of the puzzle, so that we can have much more effective responses to crises, be it pandemic, natural disasters, or financial and economic crisis into the future. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Putri.
Okay, thank you. Well, my concluding remark is just this, that we should not and could not only think about how to put interest rate into zero, because interest rate really, it's about cost, cost of accessing to money, and it's not really the riba. It's not really the riba. When Allah says, وَحَلَّ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ riba, it's not about the cost. It's about the system itself. So when you have a zero-sum game system, it wouldn't reach whatever the cost is, the level of cost is, whether it is negative interest rate, whether it is positive interest rate, it will never work. So Islamic financial enthusiasts like us, or expert or scholars, should be in one table, should be in consensus of looking at this, that this is not about putting interest rate into zero, but this is about having risk sharing, having an equitable money, where money can be used as a mode of transactions, not piling or hoarding assets, financial assets only. So that is my concluding remark, in order to block up, in order to, as a way or as a solutions to the recovery after post-COVID-19 crisis. That's all. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And I think just to add on to the distinguished panel that I had the honor to share today, I think Islamic finance, and I do agree that Islamic finance has to show its value within this system that exists with the conventional finance system. So that means we need to bring new ideas, not just replicating from the conventional world, but bring new ideas like excellently the GDP-linked sukuk that Prof. Obaid has talked about, because we have the responsibility of being accountable to our great tradition of innovation, which started in our golden era in the 8th century. We had Al-Khwarizmi, who is known as the father of algebra, and algebra is the foundation for algorithms that we use in AI today. We have, great philosophers and, Sufi leaders like Ibn Arabi, Al-Ghazali. We have great philosophers like Ibn Tufail, Ibn Sina, and we had great inventions with Astrolabi, which essentially created the astrolabes, right? For the simple fact was the impetus for being the masters of building a compass system through astronomy and astrolabes was simply because we were traders by nature, right? We wanted to find the most accurate position as we are moving, to find the direction to pray. And it started from a simple reason, because we are obligated to pray 5 times a day. And when we are traveling, whether it's in a camel, caravan, or any other form of transportation, we just wanted to face accurately where the Makkah was, right? And that started all these fantastic inventions that we are known for today. So I hope that we view this as as a responsibility for all of us to come up with new things which will benefit not only the Ummah but the entire mankind, because Islam was sent down as a mercy to mankind, not only to Muslims. So we need to be of service and of value to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, everyone. It was a pleasure to be with you. And inshallah, as you said, we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May He allow us and enable us to really take this opportunity to capitalize on everything that we have, including our heritage, and inshallah be able to make a difference and then please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you very much again. Dr. Ifer, we turn the mic to you. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much all the panelists had very good presentations, and hopefully next time as physically we're going to come together in Istanbul, inshallah. Thank you very much for all of your participations. Take care of yourself and be good. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.